Yo, people, welcome back to the Lucas and A channel. Today we're going to be doing Premier League predictions for match day 14. I got it. So, guys, first of all, I'm recording this on the Monday. What gives? I usually do this on Wednesdays. Well, I finished my university. I finished my first year at university, so yeah, last Friday was my last day. Had a really great day. We had swimming classes for sports. We played a bit of basketball as well. I'm not a massive fan of basketball, so I suck. For the record, I suck at basketball, so. But anyway, it is the 1st of December, a brand new month, and so yeah, and I don't have to do any exams except for the music one because everyone has to do that one because it's mandatory. If you get a certain amount of grade in my university, you don't have to take the exam. So that's actually so good, and I'm exceeded all of them. I don't. I got top grades and I don't have to do any exams except for the music one because, like I said, that's mandatory, and also art. But they you get to choose if you're doing. I don't have to do the art thing. I just have to look at something, but I had to perform for music. But anyway, that's not what we're here. We're here for Premier League predictions. So let's do this. Starting off the first match, we have Bournemouth versus Everton. Now let's go. Now both of these teams lost. I repeat, lost last week, so it was a tough time for both teams. Let's start with Bournemouth. Bournemouth, they were so unlucky against Sunderland. They were 2-0 up, and then Sunderland just did an amazing comeback, and they ended up winning 3-2. So that's that. Everton, after beating Man United, I'm still not happy. They ended up losing 4-1 at home at the Hills Dickinson Stadium to Newcastle. So both teams didn't really have a good week. Obviously, Bournemouth will be missing, if I'm correct, they'll be missing Lewis Cook. He's suspended for this match, so there will be no Lewis Cook for them. And I believe so. Interesting. Since I'm gonna favour the home side here, I'm gonna say 2-1 to Bournemouth, just because they're playing at home, and yes, like I said, they are going to be missing Lewis Cook since he got suspended since he got a red card against Sunderland, but that was towards like the very ending of the game, so it doesn't really impact the match. So yeah. Anyway, next up it is Fulham versus Manchester City. Now both of these teams won last week. Fulham got a very impressive, very good result against Tottenham, and I don't know what Tottenham were doing. Tottenham looked awful this game. I just had to congratulate Harry Wilson for the goal. What a goal! Both of them were good, but Harry Wilson's goal was arguably the best goal of that match. And also I have to give credit to Mohamed Kudus. He scored a pretty decent goal as well. But it wasn't enough, and they ended up losing. Man City also won last week against Leeds, but at the Etihad. But I had to say it was a bit shaky from Man City. It wasn't dominant. They were 2-0 up, and then they kind of capitulated and conceded 2 goals, one from a penalty and one from another goal. 2 goals from, if I'm correct. No, so 1 goal from Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And there wasn't a penalty. The penalty was saved, but Lucas Nemecha scored the rebound. So the goal scorers. So Also, Foden scored, but Haaland hasn't scored. Ever since that Liverpool game, he hasn't scored a single goal, so something's gone on with him. You know what? I'm going to go with a bit of an upset. I'm going to go with a 1-all. I just think Man City right now are not anywhere near... I don't think they'll win the Premier League this season. I think they might finish second or third. I think that's the best they can do. I think the worst they can do this season maybe is fourth or fifth. I think that's the lowest they will go down this season. And it's kind of getting deja vu vibes here from a few seasons ago, but still. So yeah, next up, Newcastle versus Tottenham. Obviously, we said Newcastle won against Everton, so we're not going to go on that. And Tottenham have obviously lost to Fulham at home, so yeah. I'm actually going to be real brief with this one. I'm going to say 2-1. Jesus, that would be an upset. No, I'm going to say 2-1 to Newcastle because they're at St James's Park. Tottenham haven't been looking great. Newcastle got a very impressive win at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. It's Everton's biggest defeat in that. It's Everton's biggest defeat at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So, yeah. Next up, we got Brighton and Hove Albion versus Aston Villa. Aston Villa, they just managed to scrape through against Wolves. So it wasn't a really good performance, but what a banger from the Aston Villa player. I think it's Bubakar Kamara or something. It was Kamara was a really good goal. And Brighton obviously got a very, very impressive win at the City ground against Nottingham Forest. They managed to beat them 2-0. Goals from Maxime De Kuyper and Stefanos Timias. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. The new Greek striker that they got. So let's get rid of these ads. I should be more... whatever. There's a lot of ads everywhere, so... I'm not sponsored, by the way. So that's why I should get rid of them. Anyway, who do I think will win here? Since both teams won, and I'm going to go off his home form. I'm going to say 2-1. I'm going to say another 2-1 to Mr. Brighton. Next up is Arsenal versus Brentford. Arsenal were a bit shaky against Chelsea, I'm not going to lie. They were a bit shaky, I'm not going to lie. And even Chelsea were down to 10 men and they still couldn't beat them. And Brentford got a win, a standard win, a textbook win against Burnley. But to be absolutely fair, all four goals in this game came in the 81 minute, 85th minute, 86th minute, and 92nd minute. So Burnley did look good, and then it just capitulated. So, however, I just don't see... I'm going to go with 2-0 Arsenal, but I just don't see Brentford getting anything at the Emirates. Next up is Burnley versus Crystal Palace. Obviously, we just touched on Burnley, so we're not going to talk about them. Crystal Palace, not looking so good. They lost to Manchester United at home 2-1, and despite them being 1-0 up, they ended up looking... I wouldn't say they capitulated, but they looked tired in the second half. And they looked out of ideas in the second half. So I don't know what happened there with Crystal Palace. It is at Turf Moor. Usually I would say Crystal Palace would win, but since both teams are a bit dodgy, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go straight down the fence, and I'm gonna go with a 1-0. Next, it is Wolverhampton versus Nottingham Forest. Now, if Wolverhampton have to get a result here, then they have to do it now. Obviously, I touched on both teams, so I'm not going to go too much on them. they have to win Wolves if they want to have maybe a slight chance of staying up this season. I just have a feeling this game is going to end in another 1-1 draw. I just feel like these two teams will cancel each other out. So yeah. Next up, it is Liverpool versus Sunderland. Obviously, a touch on Sunderland. They were 2-0 down at the stadium on light, but then in Sunderland fashion, they managed to score 3 goals and win the game. So congrats to Sunderland. It was a very entertaining game. Sunderland always entertain me. It's they're a very good team, and they're just a very good club, a very entertaining club to watch. Liverpool, I mean, they got the job done against West Ham, but they did leave it kind of late towards the end of the match. You know what? I'm gonna go with a draw. I know I'm boring, but Sunderland are good. They haven't won a lot of their away record is something they need to work on. I mean, they did beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, so that's something. But this is Liverpool at Anfield, and Anfield is a whole different experience. I know they haven't looked that great at Anfield. Ever since that Manchester United, I think it's ever since that United defeat, they've been going on a bit of a haywire. Or I don't know. They've been going on a free fall. I know they won, but they did leave it kind of late against West Ham. So I'm just gonna say they'll cancel each other out. Leeds versus Chelsea. Chelsea looked really good against Arsenal. They scored the first goal. Now, something that concerns me about Chelsea is that they were down to 10 men against They were down to 10 men against Arsenal, and let me see, and so they will be out. So Moises Caicedo has been suspended for this game, so there will be, like I said, without Caicedo in this game. Leeds, they left it very late against. It was a very late drama against Brentford. It was against that was Burnley. Sorry, Leeds, they thought they might have gotten a result at the Etihad against Man City, but obviously Foden scored an amazing goal. Very pissed off about that. Come on, I want Man City to lose. I want this team to lose. I'm gonna go boring. I'm gonna say 2-0 Chelsea. I think they have what it takes to. Chelsea are a weird team for me because they. Some games they can look awful. They lost to Sunderland at home, but then they can at the same time, if there's any team that can defeat can stop a big six team, it is Chelsea. So they're a confusing team, Chelsea, for me. Confusing. And the last match day again is Man United versus West Ham. I want to get my revenge against West Ham. Obviously, we touched on United with both teams, so I'm not going to go on too much. But last time this fixture happened at Old Trafford, West Ham won 2-0, so I'm not happy about that. I'm going to say 2-1 to Man United. Let's calculate. And by match week 14, this is what it looks like. Arsenal first, Chelsea second, Man City third, Brighton fourth, Aston Villa fifth, United sixth, Sunderland seventh, Liverpool eighth, Bournemouth ninth, Crystal Palace 10th, Newcastle 11th, Brentford 12th, Tottenham Hotspur 13th, Fulham 14th, Everton 15th, Forest 16th, Burnley 17th, West Ham 18th, Leeds 19th, and Wolves 20th. So guys, that is it for my Premier League predictions. I hope you enjoy it, and yet again I will see you later. Goodbye and peace out.